and welcome to the Journey to CEO Success. I'm your co-host, Melissa Saunders, and I'm joined by Patrick Thean, award-winning serial entrepreneur, renowned CEO coach, and a Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author. Patrick's latest book, The Journey to CEO Success, is a #1 Amazon bestseller and the inspiration behind this podcast. Patrick, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, Melissa. It's a great day for our podcast.
It is. And we're joined by Chris Stegner. He's the CEO of Very Big Things. Named Miami's Technology Entrepreneur of the Year, Chris leverages his former executive experience to fulfill his mission of making advanced AI accessible to mid-market organizations. Under his leadership, Very Big Things specializes in creating secure, production-ready AI systems that transform business challenges into measurable competitive advantage. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Doing good. That's a mouthful. I hope people are able to follow along with all of that. Great to be here with you guys.
Great.
Chris, thank you. Welcome to our show. So, Very Big Things. Love the name of your company. Is doing some very big things in the field of AI, right? So I'd love for you just to take a couple of minutes and share about what you guys do first before we jump into other things.
Yeah. So the very quick version is that we're really an AI services company. We're an AI partner for mid-market enterprise companies. What I think differentiates us, two things is one. There's very few companies that are solely focused on that, and for 4 years now, we've been solely focused on generative AI, which is this latest way of like large language model based AI. And we've been doing it at a production level for enterprise companies, for those 4 years. But then also in the last, I'd say, year especially, we really started to form a new methodology we call transform work, which is, it's like really following along with everything that's happening in AI. There's starting to be a really high level of confidence in like what these like latest frontier models are actually capable of. Like people believe, okay, the models, yep, I can see they can do amazing things. I have confidence there. But on the other hand, they're being told one day agents will be helping to run my company.
Yes.
And nobody's really shown how you get from one to the other at any type of scale, other than like some little commoditized thing that happens in a corner. Doesn't really help the company that much. And over the last year, we've really been able to nail down exactly what that answer is. So now when we're talking with companies, I feel like they're in a spot where they have so much pressure to be moving with AI, to be doing something with AI, from their board, from the public markets, from everywhere. From themselves,
Yes.
And all they're seeing in front of them is like kind of 50 bad options,
Yeah.
And they're trying to choose which of the 50 bad options to move forward with, and they really struggle with it, which makes sense. And then usually we're coming in and we're walking them through this transform work methodology of how to actually get to having agents really help with the company in a meaningful way. And all of a sudden they're seeing is like, oh wow, this is the first time I've seen a good option, like this is something I'm actually like excited about. So it's helped to really differentiate kind of our place and got us a ton of traction in the mid-market, I'd say upper ends of mid-market and enterprise companies. So
Yeah, you said a thing there that surprised me. So I want to run this thought.
Yeah.
You focus. So first of all, congratulations. I teach a lot of CEOs, and you got to really focus. So you have chosen to focus on generative AI. But what surprised me is something you said earlier, which is that not a lot of firms like yours are focused on that. And that surprises me only because AI, my vision is that it's kind of taking the world by storm. So why wouldn't more people focus on it the way you focused on it? And part of me is thinking it's probably because people are afraid. Like sometimes people are afraid to jump into the deep end, and change management causes us to all slow down a little bit. But why do you think that is so, that people haven't focused on it the way you have?
I mean, there's a couple of things there. Like, to your point, there's a massive fear of the unknown, right? And to dive so hard into something that, 4 years ago, pretty much everybody in the world was calling this hype saying like, oh, this isn't going to actually lead anywhere, So then putting all of your chips, which when I say all your chips, this could be maybe a business you've been working 5 to 20 years to build, So now to say, okay, let's move all these chips into this one, basket, or eggs into a basket. That's, I can imagine, terrifying for most. Even when I replay it, I'm like, how did we ever do that? So I think what you're seeing more often now is companies that are about 1 year old, maybe 2 years old, that are like saying, hey, we'll go all in on this.
Because they got nothing to lose, really.
Nothing to lose. Yeah. It's a 2-3 person company that's just starting to do it. But I mean, if you look at somebody like, well, and then there's a third piece to it, which is, you look at any of your large companies, like your Accentures, your Deloittes, your McKinseys, BCGs, et cetera, like, they've been in this world where, 2 years ago, they got paid $20 million to do a certain type of project. And last year, they got paid $20 million to do that type of project. And the primary question that they're asking themselves is, in 2026, how do we still get paid $20 million to do the same type of project with all these new efficiencies?
Yes.
So you have to be able to be willing to cannibalize yourself in multiple ways. Like you have to kill your revenue, find entirely new business models, at the same time as putting all of your chips in an unknown basket or eggs in an unknown basket. And yes, I can definitely understand why people haven't. So
I see the same thing. I mean, I think, what you said about cannibalizing yourself, I totally agree with that. I think I've always said, hey, you've got to eat your own children. Otherwise, other people will eat your children for you, right? And one of my clients was asking me about AI, and I'm not an AI expert like you, but he was telling me about his project, and he was sharing with me how his cost of overseas people on the phone was cheaper than the AI stuff, the cost of getting supplanting all that with AI. And I shared with him that maybe he should consider that it's about the future, not just about the present. Like, in other words, maybe today the cost of his overseas dialers are less than the cost of implementing the AI agents and all that for whatever work he's doing. But if you roll that clock forward a few years, right, everything gets more competitive, and now you've got a head start. So I've also advocated to a lot of people that don't be afraid, just kind of crawl, walk, run. It's just, I still remember November 21, I think it was, when my plane was landing in Singapore. I'm from Singapore. My plane's landing in Singapore. I turned on my iPhone, and OpenAI announced their beta. I signed up immediately, and between the time that my plane was taxiing to the door, I had already started playing with ChatGPT, wondering what the heck that was. And being an electrical engineer, I think it was easy for me to jump into that. But I then turned around and I texted my buddies in the US, my team in the US, and I said, hey, I want you to play with this and tell me what you think. And 2 weeks later, I come back to the US, and my team really hadn't done anything with that, right? But it took me pushing a couple of times, and I think some of it is, we're too busy. Not that my team wasn't willing to try something, but they were just too busy with the day-to-day fires, the day-to-day work. And it's easy for me as a CEO to go, hey, I got a new idea. And so people think, hey, if we just wait Patrick out, this too shall pass. We don't have to do anything, So, but it's cool. And so for me, I've always crawl, walk, run. So crawl to me is just go play with it.
Yep.
Walk and then run. What have you seen to help people enter this and not be afraid too much?
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. I think the very first thing every person has to do is just, it's like we were just talking about, the fear of the unknown, right? Which is a very real and rational fear. You can't let it be unknown. You have to. That's the crawling. To your point, the crawling is just starting to use these things. Use them as much as you can. So it no longer feels like the unknown. And I think that's step one. And when I say that, I mean, I talk with groups of executives all the time around this, where it's, I have a group of 50 executives, and I'll say, raise your hands, if you've, used, ChatGPT, Gemini, one of these tools, and maybe 80% of the hands go up. There's 20% where it's just they've never used it. And this is now we're 4 years into this journey. Like,
Wow.
4 years since ChatGPT came out, and then I'll say, okay, now the hands, the 80% of them are up. Like, how many of you guys actually have like your own account, like you've registered, and maybe like another 20% of hands go down. So now you got 60% of people with their hands still up. And I'll say, okay, now how many have paid accounts? And maybe like 25% of the total still have their hands up. And if you are, we're talking what, $15 a month, something like that.
Yeah.
Or with Gemini, probably for a lot of people free. A lot of these things have pretty good access now. But if you aren't spending the $15 a month at this point to understand what these models are really capable of, you're missing it. So
senior executives, right? These are senior executives.
These are CEOs. These are COOs. Yep, you nailed it. And because a lot of people don't realize that behind ChatGPT, behind Gemini, behind all these models, or Anthropic, etc., all these providers, there's a number of different models, and those models have different abilities. And you don't get the good models until you're paying for it.
Yes.
Even once you're paying for it, you usually have to go in and choose that model. And now, if I ask people like who's gone in and actually chose the like thinking model in ChatGPT 5 or whatever, now you're talking like 5%, and it's like, okay, so the other 95% of you just aren't even aware of like what these models are capable of. So I think to your point, like step one is that you just have to start using the stuff at an what I'd call kind of like entry level, like the same level that my daughter who's 12 uses it.
Yes. Yes. I really advocate everyone who's listening to this webinar that has not yet signed up. I totally agree with you, Chris. I think everyone should sign up and pay for it, because what I've learned about the human, whatever you want to call human condition, human experience, that you get one chance to make a good first impression, right? So how many times have people tried something and gone, it's full of shit, don't like it, don't want to use it? So for me, when I try something, like when I want to sign up, and I want to sign up for the paid account immediately, because I want to get the best experience. Otherwise, I'll just go like, I tried it, it's useless. Well, no, you didn't get the best experience. So to me, I want ChatGPT to get the chance to make the best first impression on me. And the best first impression is you just jump in and pay for the account. Otherwise, you get a limited experience, not the best experience.
Completely agreed. And to the point, it's funny when I talk with people about this, it's one of the things I usually lead with is the experience most people have had and how poor that experience is in comparison to what's possible. And if you think about something like, say, a smartphone, for instance, right? Think about the very first phone that had like internet connectivity, like a browser on it. We're not even talking like a BlackBerry, like before that, So you have that device that came out, 20 years ago, something like that, 25 years ago. And then from there, you've got, your latest and greatest Android or iPhone with, the best cameras and the best processors and all that type of stuff that have happened over the last 25 years. You have to understand, with this world of AI, we've made that same distance in the last like 3.5 years.
Yes.
So what you experienced if you played with the stuff 3 years ago is you were on that like Nokia phone that had like a little scroll wheel of a browser on a window, black and white window this big. And in the last 3.5 years, we've grown to being like, your latest and greatest device. So, you really have to stay up to speed with it. And just to your point, just try it and
just play with it, man. Just play with it. Yeah. So how do you advise CEOs to think about AI that is not just a shiny object, but how do you actually just share one of your secret items on how you help them take AI, make it aligned with their core business? Because I love your website. Your website talks about how it's production, not pilots. You get stuff working for real. So how do you advise CEOs to not think of this as just a shiny object, but how do they get it aligned with the business model, and what KPIs they should use to measure whether or not it's working or not?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things there, because as you can imagine, this is a bit of an intricate processes. The technology for most people is still fairly new, and it is fairly unknown for a lot of people. So I'd say when we're talking with executives that are still in this spot of like, hey, is this real? Usually we take a very factual based approach of just walking them through the exact advances, based on like true benchmarks and so forth, just so you can really see how rapidly this stuff has grown over the last 2 or 3 years and what's possible versus like what their personal experience has been with it. Because when you do that, also it starts opening their mind to like, okay, maybe where my mind is of where this technology is at isn't correct. Maybe I understand it's here.
So misconceptions, misthinking, right? Misunderstandings.
Yeah. First things first, like you have to have some belief, right? So usually we'll kind of just first try to set the mindset. And then once people realize it's here, now they're a lot more open to hearing, okay, how can I now take advantage of this versus what I thought was this and just a waste of my time. From there, I'd say there's a couple of things, which is, I feel like most executives at especially the types of companies that we're used to working with, which I said is kind of like the upper end of middle market and enterprise, they have a ton of pressure. They have a ton of pressure from their board, from themselves, from public markets, from everything, to just be doing something with AI. And, in that process, when we're coming to the methodology that we've figured out is a very crawl, walk, run approach that versus saying, I think most companies when they're going to them are saying, hey, okay, make this $20 million investment. We're going to come back and in 6 months we'll launch out this thing and then we'll drive, AI adoption inside of your company to use that thing.
That's the McKinsey way.
Exactly. It's very terrifying, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Versus our approach is one of like, we come in 4 weeks and we get to know, understand what the priorities of the company are, what are the departments and people that are driving those existing priorities. And then from there, we start to really dive in and figure out the role that AI could play in doing the human side of the work. So we're usually not part of like a build versus buy discussion. We're saying, okay, you already have SAP, Oracle, SharePoint, you've got your systems in place. But humans are still doing a ton of work in between those systems. So that's where we try to like apply ourselves, is that glue between those systems. Like, what are the humans doing?
Yeah.
So we'll go in and we'll spend 4 weeks and we'll figure that out. We prioritize, the different processes that are happening based on, once again, the ROI, and we should build like a solid business case around it. Like, here's the KPIs that we'll follow for this use case. And then also depending on, the timeline to implement them, and then what matters to the company, because it's something we've realized is you can come back with an amazing solution, but if it's not already part of what people are excited about, you're pushing it uphill, versus like, hey, you already are trying to grow a new vertical of revenue, and that's your focus for this year. Awesome. Can we come up with an amazing solution that helps you to do that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So we'll prioritize things like that. And then from there, what we do, so that's crawl. Crawl is like 4 weeks, we come in, we help you figure out the things. Walk for us is we do a 90-day, you probably saw this on the website too. In 90 days, after that, we build out 3 of those processes. And when I say build out, I'm talking not a pilot, not a proof of concept. Like, we will go in, fully dive in, figure out what the process needs to be. We will develop it, we'll implement it, we'll drive the team adoption. So 90 days afterwards, you can actually see, is this working or not working? And then from there, the run is, now we enter like a 1 to 2 year contract of like, now let's do this across the company. So it's
cool.
I think that crawl, walk, run gives most people a lot more comfortability versus
Cool.
just give me a $20 million check and we'll figure it out.
Well, thank you. I think you've given some very valuable lessons to my audience. I'm going to switch in the last few minutes we have to your personal journey. I want to, you have experienced a lot of success. You are a very creative guy, innovative. So I have a suspicion that you have all this success because you found something that you love, that you've dialed in your passion. I think, secondly, you've got talent in this area. It's kind of like, if I love to sing in the shower, but my talent isn't good enough, no one's going to pay me for that. So you love what you do. This is what I'm guessing. You love what you do. You got talent in this area. And then you got loads of curiosity to continue leveling yourself up in this knowledge of this area continuously. But that's my guess. I'm curious as to your journey. How are you, what is your trifecta of how to get to this place where you're experiencing joy and success at the same time?
So, I think I've done a kind of a deep look at myself and trying to understand which things drive my own personal happiness and fulfillment, right? And for me personally, I definitely like creating, like creating something, birthing something, making something that didn't exist before, now it exists, and so that was a bit of a personal love and just extremely fulfilling. So that can be creating a company, but it can also be creating a solution or creating a methodology. So as long as I'm creating, I find myself getting a lot of joy and fulfillment from the work I'm doing. I'd say one of the biggest things that I found to help on that happiness kind of side of things is also understanding the things I'm not good at, and being a big boy and saying, hey, I'm not good at these things, and maybe I will never be good at these things, and maybe I don't want to be good at these things, and then hiring really good folks to do those pieces that are exceptional at them, because now they're just helping, in my case, they're helping me to create. They're helping me create something much bigger than anything I could create on my own, because I would never be great at doing those things. And maybe one last note on that would be something that my mom mentioned to me forever ago that stuck with me is, she said, if you feel like you're great at something, that's actually probably not what you're meant to do. Right? And I said the same thing. I go, huh? And she goes, if you feel like you're great at something, that means because you look at yourself and you go, oh, wow, I've gotten so good at this. I've worked really hard and I've gotten so good at this thing. And she goes, what you should do is, if you sit there and you go, this is so easy, I'm not great at it, it's just a very simple thing, but you watch every other person around you really struggle with it, that's like what you're meant to do. Like the thing that's like so innately part of you that you don't even understand you're doing something impressive. You can only start to even understand it when you look around and you see other really smart people struggle, and so that has proven to be really true. And I think when you can look at things through that lens, all of a sudden you can start figuring out what it is you're really meant to do. I think we innately find joy in doing the things that we're meant to do. When something comes easy to you and everybody's like giving you like a high five for how great it is, it's like, oh, wow, okay, maybe I am special. And I think probably every person is special in some way. It's just understanding what your way is.
You said something just now, I want to double click on it. You said you got to be a big boy about because I do think that just for the sake of the audience, being a big boy is a pretty big statement, because I think being a big boy means a few things. First, you've got to have enough humility, and you have to really, especially guys like you and me, we're successful. Nobody gets success without ego. So you've got to literally tell yourself, I'm going to be a big boy. You got to work your ego down to receive that information, to be a big boy, right? But I've also seen being a big boy, or if I can be gender neutral, being
I was just going to say a big person, we'll say.
being a big person, I think it cuts both ways. I think what you said also about, your mom's advice to you, that what you find easy to do that other people struggle with, I found that when I found something easy for me to do that other people struggle with, I have great difficulty accepting that I'm special in that area. So it takes almost, you got to be a big person to actually accept your own talents and say, yeah, and doing it really in a way that keeps you humble so you can continue to learn. Because just because you're good at it doesn't mean you should stop learning, right? You need to continue to level. That's why I said, I think you have lots of curiosity in this area, but you also continue to level yourself up knowledge-wise. Otherwise, you may be good at it today, but you're not going to be good at it tomorrow when the field levels themselves up. Am I not wrong?
And I think you nailed it. And as a quick example of that, I'd say, it was all of 3 days ago, I was talking to one of my advisors who's accomplished drastically more than I have. And I talk with him on a fairly regular basis. And I said, and he's like, hey, you're doing really great. I'm like, awesome. And then towards the end of the call, he mentioned like an issue he's having with another person he advises. And I said, hey, do me a favor. If I wasn't around and you were talking to somebody else about me, what critical thing would you say about me? Like that's what I want to know. Like, you're doing good doesn't help, And he's like, you need to work on this. And I was like, you're totally right. And that's all I focused on for now the last 5 days is like that thing. And I'll be better for it. I'll get there. So
so focus on the things that maybe you're great at versus only looking for the things that you're not good at or that you need to improve, right? And lots of guys and gals in our shoes are always problem solving. We're always like, how do I solve that? How do I make that better? How do I make that better? How do I make that better? And what I've discovered is I look for the bright spots. So I agree with your advisor. Like I want to find the bright spot that you're thriving, enjoying, and lots of times it's like if you just spend more time on that bright spot where you're thriving, you could thrive even more.
It's one of my friends. He always quotes some coach. I can't remember which one it is, but I think the coach always said like, don't look at what a player's bad at and try to fix that. Just find what they're good at and double down on it. And that's what you should be doing with your team. With your team, like it's so, to your point, it's so easy to look at your team and be critical and say, I wish this person was better at this. It's like, well, no, what are they great at? But, and then all of a sudden you can really start to use them. That's awesome. And they feel better too.
So tell me, what is your dream for yourself and your company for the future right now?
I mean, dream for myself is to get to continue. This is very selfish. So this is for myself, right?
Yeah, for yourself.
To get to continue to do more and more of the stuff that I really love and find ways of handing off more and more of the stuff that like is just work. I think that's for all of us, right? Yeah. And I'd say being able to play more and more of a role of like the next generation and watching them turn into something that should hopefully far outshine anything that I've done. And there's people you see and they've more than earned the right for you to try to help them to become so much more. And then the as far as a company goes, I mean, I think we're really figuring out extremely valuable solutions, and I want to just do more and more of that. I want to make sure that the solutions that we're creating solve massive problems, for every person who works with us, and then a lot of what we're doing, we're open sourcing as well. So eventually the world. And to be honest, I feel extremely fortunate that we chose a spot that just happens to have turned into the right spot where it feels like the work we're doing has a force multiplier much greater than anything I've worked on before. So,
well, congratulations, man. So this is my last question. First, I want to thank you again for coming to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and our podcast is all about helping CEOs have a more joyful and successful life. So my last question, my signature question is what advice can you leave our CEO customers for them to have a more joyful and successful life?
Yeah, I think I touched on this a little bit earlier, which is understand what it is that brings you joy. I think is a great one. And not to tout another book, but there was a book I read called Solve for Happy. And it was a great book where it hits on a number of things. But one of the big things I think it hits on is having good expectations. Like happiness is when expectations meet reality. Right. So I think both knowing what it is you're driving for, understanding what it is that actually drives you and makes you happy. And something I learned too late in life is there's a massive difference between fun and happy. Like fun's just a thing that happens in the moment. Happiness is like something that's like real and lives inside of you. And I think that's that joy. Right. So that joy comes from purpose and fulfillment and from understanding, so I think you need to understand what drives that inside of you and then double down on it. And then there's a healthy amount of like, keep realistic expectations in all things in life. And that definitely comes true with business. And then you'll find yourself being happy a lot more often. So.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Melissa, back to you.
Well, that's a wrap, you guys. Thank you, Chris, for being here today and sharing that journey that you're on. And until next time, go out there, find what makes you happy, but enjoy this beautiful journey we're on. Until next time, bye now.
Awesome. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.